Today I've got Fujifilm's brand new X-A7. It's an entry-level offering into their X series range of interchangeable lens cameras. It's got an APS-C size 24.2 megapixel sensor, which is newly designed specifically for this camera, and I can't fit the lens on it properly. There we go. You'd think I'd never used Fuji before. Now, we've come into London, we're going to walk towards Soho now, walk through the streets and just see how we get on with it. It's a very travel-friendly, incredibly light camera with a huge screen, so we're going to see how we get on. This screen is insanity. It is huge. You can see how bright the light is here. Now, the screen on the X-A7 is insanely huge. It's a 3.5-inch massive touchscreen LCD, and yes, this doesn't have a viewfinder, but I've got to say, they said that the LCD is incredibly bright, so it doesn't make a difference, and I am in incredibly harsh light, which is coming down at a really awkward angle, and actually I can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm quite impressed with that screen. And also for playing back photos and seeing what you're doing, it's really nice. You just zoom in with your thumbs, and it's almost like looking at your pictures back on a tablet or a phone screen, which is obviously much nicer than using a small camera screen. So you can check what you're doing super easily. It is, I mean, it's massive. It takes up basically the entire back of the camera, but it's nice. The first few images I've been taking with this, I've been shooting in manual, which is ridiculous. That's not what this camera's for. It can do it, which is nice, and it does have the manual controls that we come to expect from a Fuji, not as many as other cameras, but I can still do shutter speed and aperture super easily, and we have the little joystick behind as well for moving autofocus points. So you can shoot manually if you want to change things up a little bit. But this camera really is targeted more towards an entry-level user or people who are really focusing on social media. So because of that, it has a lot of sort of auto mode, scene modes, filters, film simulations, which Fuji's already pretty good at, so obviously that's good in this camera. So for the next little while, I'm just going to go through a load of different film simulation modes and things like that, just take a load of random photos and see how they come out. The other great thing about having such a large rear screen on the X-A7 is you have access to the Smart menu, which gives you a load of controls straight at your fingertips. You can do things like depth control to make your image have a blurrier background. You've got exposure compensation on there so you can make it lighter or darker, and you've got access to your film simulation modes. If you're in a filter mode, you can flick through those really easily. So if you're the sort of person who wants to take loads of cool shots in the camera and not have to do too much post-processing, then this is a really nice menu to have to flick through all of those quickly and intuitively. The sensor on the X-A7 has a copper wire design. Basically, what that means is that it has really high data readout speeds, and that improves a lot of things about the camera. It means that the autofocus is really quick in comparison to previous models like the X-A5, and there's notable improvements in things like face and IAF. They've also seen massive improvements when you're in low light situations. That copper wire construction keeps the digital noise ratio down, allowing you to shoot at higher ISOs. And there's also been improvements to rolling shutter when you're shooting 4K, which this can do. The great thing about the pairing in front of me is that the X-A7 can come kitted with the 15 to 45mm lens. Now on an APS-C size sensor, 15mm at the wide end's pretty good. And also this can do 4K with no crop. With the fully articulated screen alongside that, it makes it very easy to self-shoot. So I can start recording. If I want, I can turn it towards me, and I've got that fully articulated screen, so I can do some self-shooting. Now, what's great about it is it does have continuous eye autofocus in video, so I can see that it's continually keeping my face in focus. Bad for you guys, good for video. But it does also have a mic input, which is really nice as well. So if you're the sort of vlogger who wants to go out and use maybe a shotgun mic or like a little Rode Wireless Go, which is what we're using today, Ben has got that in his camera at the moment rather than on this, but it does have a hot shoe, so if you want to attach it, you can. The eye autofocus, however, quite impressed with. Ben, I'll turn that towards you. And if I move around a little bit, you can see how well that's tracking me. I'm trying not to move the camera too much, it's very difficult. but I am getting nods from behind the camera that that is working. So yeah, quite impressed with that as a vlogging camera. I think that works pretty well. So I've been brave and I've gone with a 30-second outro. The X-A7's actually pretty good. Okay, some of the features aren't super pro, but the sensor in there, that 24.2 megapixel newly designed sensor, gives us some great autofocus capabilities. Apparently good in low light, although it's pretty bright here today, and I'm quite impressed with the video skills. I've got 15 seconds left, it's counting down on the screen. Now, I don't have all the specs here today, so make sure to pop onto the website, come into one of our stores, give us a call, put a comment below, send us an email if you need more information. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I have 4 seconds left. Thanks for watching.